Eva Sinclair was 13 years old and one of the few black students at Westridge Middle School. Every day she sat alone at the far end of the cafeteria, picking at her peanut butter sandwich and trying to be invisible. The lunchroom wasn't a place of food fights or shouting. It was quieter than that. It was a place where looks and whispers could hurt just as much as punches. Eva had learned early that blending in wasn't an option for her, so she tried to disappear instead, moving through hallways like a shadow. Connor Tate had made it his personal mission to make Eva feel unwelcome. He wasn't just any student. He was the son of Richard Tate, a powerful local businessman. Connor walked like he owned the school. Teachers smiled when they said his name. Parents invited him to pool parties, and he could talk his way out of any trouble. For months, Connor had been targeting Eva, starting with small things that adults would dismiss as just kids being kids. One day at lunch, Connor snatched Eva's paper lunch bag off her table. "What you got, Sinclair?" he asked with a mean grin. He tore open the bag and pulled out her sandwich with disgust. "Peanut butter? Seriously? Guess your dad's new job doesn't pay enough for real food." His friends laughed. Eva's fingers curled under the table, but she stayed quiet. Connor leaned closer. "You know, you should really say thank you. I'm just trying to help you diet." He tossed her sandwich over his shoulder. When Eva tried to pick it up, Connor stepped on it, smashing it into the floor. "Oops," he smirked. Eva grabbed her backpack and rushed out, past the cafeteria doors, past the lockers, all the way to the girls' bathroom. She locked herself in a stall, sitting on the closed toilet lid and taking slow breaths. This wasn't new. She would wait until the lunch bell rang, then slip out and pretend nothing happened. Telling someone never worked. Teachers would say, "Just ignore him." The principal would call it a misunderstanding, and tomorrow it would all start again. At home, Eva barely spoke. She went straight to her room, closing the door softly behind her. Eva wasn't the type to slam things. She knew how to disappear, even in her own house. But her father, the town's new police chief, noticed something was wrong. "Everything all right, Eva?" he called through her door. "Yeah, just tired," she lied. She didn't want to add middle school problems to his plate. He was already busy with his new job and dealing with the mess left by the previous police chief. The next day, Connor pushed Eva hard into her locker before first period. She nearly hit her forehead on the metal. "My bad, Sinclair. Didn't see you there," he laughed. By lunchtime, a rumor was spreading that Eva had tried to fight Connor. "She swung on him and everything," someone whispered. "Bet she cried after." Eva froze in the cafeteria doorway. Connor sat at his usual table, scrolling through his phone like nothing mattered. This was worse than the physical bullying. He was making sure she was completely alone. For days, Eva sat by herself. By Friday, she thought maybe Connor was done with her. But she was wrong. After the final bell, as Eva walked across the parking lot toward home, Connor called after her. When she ignored him, he grabbed her wrist. Eva jerked away. "Don't touch me!" Connor grinned like it was all a game. "Relax, I just wanted to say hi." His friends laughed as usual. "Leave me alone," Eva said, her heart pounding. Connor leaned in. "Or what? You're gonna tell on me?" He flicked her backpack strap. "You're just mad 'cause nobody cares." Something snapped inside Eva. Before she knew what was happening, she shoved Connor hard. He stumbled backward, caught off guard. For once, he wasn't smirking. That should have been the end. But Connor wasn't used to being embarrassed, and he decided Eva would never forget it. All weekend, Eva replayed the scene in her mind. The look on Connor's face when she pushed him, the way his friends went quiet for a moment before laughing again. By Monday morning, she had convinced herself that maybe Connor had moved on. She should have known better. As Eva walked down the hallway Monday morning, students turned their phones toward her, pretending to look at something funny. Some pointed, some laughed. Others just shook their heads. "Nice photos, Sinclair," said Lena Carmichael, one of Connor's friends, smirking as she tapped on her phone. Eva checked her own phone and found her notifications flooded. Connor had posted an edited picture of Eva from the parking lot incident. In this version, Eva's face was twisted with exaggerated anger, with bold red letters across the top. "Psycho Sinclair can't control herself." The comments were cruel. "She looks unhinged. No wonder she has no friends." Connor should have hit her back. "I heard she tried to scratch his face." By lunch, everyone had seen the picture. By the time school ended, it was all anyone talked about. When Eva got home, her father was waiting with his phone in hand. "Eva," he said in a steady voice, "sit down." He showed her the same photo. "You want to explain this to me?" Eva's heart pounded. I didn't do anything." "I know," he said, his eyes darkening. "I also know exactly who did." He started dialing a number, and Eva realized that Connor had finally messed with the wrong person. Eva's father wasn't a man who yelled or slammed doors when angry. He got quiet, and right now the silence in the living room was thick enough to suffocate. "Principal Dawson," he said into the phone, his voice calm but firm. "We need to talk. Now." Eva listened as Principal Dawson tried to downplay the situation, saying something about looking into it and kids being kids. Her father's jaw tightened. "Number. We're not going to look into it. We're going to fix it." Today, within an hour, they were at West Ridge Middle School. Principal Dawson was waiting, arms crossed. "Chief Sinclair," he greeted with a forced smile, "I understand you have some concerns." Eva's father didn't waste time on small talk. "Connor Tate has been harassing my daughter for over a month, and now he's spreading false accusations about her online. This is what I want removed." The principal shifted uncomfortably. "Now, Chief, let's not blow this out of proportion. I spoke with Connor's parents, and they assured me—" "I don't care what his parents assured you," her father interrupted, his voice like steel. "I care about what he did." He stepped forward. "Do you know what my job is, Dawson? I enforce the law. And last I checked, cyber harassment and targeted bullying fall under some serious categories. But you know what's worse? A school that turns a blind eye to it." The principal's face lost color. "I'll talk to the Tates again." Eva's father didn't move. "You'll do more than talk. You'll make sure that picture is taken down, you'll make sure this doesn't happen again, and you'll hold Connor accountable." Just then, Connor and his parents walked in. Richard Tate was an imposing man with broad shoulders and an expensive suit. "Chief Sinclair," he said smoothly, "I don't see why this had to become a whole spectacle." Eva's father didn't blink. "Your son made it one." Connor's mother laughed sharply. "Come on, they're just kids. They push each other, roughhouse. This is all so unnecessary." Eva's father took a slow breath. "If my daughter had done to your son what he did to her, would we be standing here? Or would you already have a lawyer lined up?" Mr. Tate's jaw twitched. "Now let's not make this about—" "It is about something," Eva's father cut in. "It's about power. It's about what you let your son get away with. And it ends here." He turned to Principal Dawson. "What's the school's official response?" The principal hesitated, glancing at the Tates before clearing his throat. "Connor will be suspended, effective immediately." The room went silent. Connor's mother gasped. "Suspended? For what? A stupid joke." Mr. Tate's face darkened. "You can't do this. Do you know who I am?" Eva's father didn't flinch. "Do you know who I am?" Mr. Tate's mouth pressed into a thin line. "This isn't over." Eva's father nodded calmly. "You're right. It's not." Connor swallowed hard. He wasn't grinning anymore. And this time, he was the one who looked afraid. Connor didn't come to school the next day or the day after. By the end of the week, rumors were spreading about his family. Some said his father tried to fight the school board over the suspension. Others heard his mother called the district demanding they remove the suspension from his record. A few whispered that his family was sending him to a private school or boarding school far away. Eva listened but said nothing. She just walked to class, kept her head down, and ignored the glances. But this time, the looks weren't filled with pity or mockery. They held something like respect. By Monday, the edited photo had disappeared from every social media account. Principal Dawson made an announcement about online harassment and the school's zero-tolerance policy for bullying. The kind of speech that would have meant nothing before, but now people were listening. That evening, Eva sat at the kitchen table while her father poured coffee. "How's school?" he asked casually. Eva shrugged. "Better." He raised an eyebrow. "Just better?" She smiled a little. "Well, better than last week." Her father smiled back. "That's good. You know I'm proud of you." Eva blinked. "For what?" "I didn't do anything." Her father set his mug down. "You stood up for yourself." Eva hesitated. "I shouldn't have had to." His expression softened. No, you shouldn't have. What happens to Connor? Eva asked. Her father leaned back. That's up to him. Eva frowned. What do you mean? He studied her carefully. Actions have consequences. He's learning that now. Whether he changes or not, that's on him. Eva thought about that. For so long, Connor had seemed untouchable. He had the right friends, the right family, the right last name. He walked through the world like nothing could ever touch him. But he had been wrong, and Eva wasn't afraid of him anymore. Eva never saw Connor Tate again. His family pulled him out of school. The damage he'd done, the months of humiliation, didn't vanish overnight. There were still stares, hushed conversations that stopped when she walked by, and students who didn't know how to act around her. But Eva wasn't waiting for their approval anymore. Instead, she did something she never would have done before. She raised her hand in class, spoke up when she had something to say, and looked people in the eye when she passed them in the halls. Slowly, the isolation began to crack. A girl from math class sat next to her at lunch. Someone asked Eva to join their group project. A quiet boy from English class muttered as he passed her locker. What he did was messed up. Eva turned. What? The boy adjusted his backpack, barely looking at her. Just saying, if I had known it was that bad, He shook his head. Doesn't matter. But it did matter because people were finally seeing not just Eva, but what had happened, what they had let happen by staying silent. That night, Eva sat reading in the living room while her father read the newspaper. You know, he said, folding the paper, I had my own Connor Tate when I was your age. Eva looked up. Yeah? He nodded. Didn't have social media back then, but the game was the same. There's always someone who thinks they can get away with it. Eva hesitated. Did you do anything about it? Her father exhaled slowly. I didn't have a choice. She frowned. What do you mean? He turned to her. I had to make a decision. Let him decide who I was or decide that for myself. Eva smiled slightly. I'm sitting here, aren't I? Her father said. A small laugh escaped her. Yeah, I guess you are. He patted her shoulder. And you are too. On Monday morning, Eva walked into school feeling different. Or maybe she was different. Lena gave her a small nod from across the hall. Not an apology, but something close enough. The quiet boy from English held the door open for her. When she sat in the cafeteria, a girl from history class slid into the seat across from her. You mind if I sit here? Eva looked at her for a moment, then shrugged. Go for it. Eva didn't need an apology from the whole school. She had already won, not by getting rid of Connor Tate, but by making sure that next time, someone like him wouldn't win so easily. Because next time, people wouldn't just look away. No one should have to fight to be treated with respect. No one should have to prove they deserve to exist without being harassed. But the truth is, standing up for yourself isn't always easy. Sometimes people will look away. Sometimes they'll pretend nothing is happening. But silence helps bullies win. And the moment you stop being silent, the moment you refuse to let them define you, that's when they lose their power.